that I should forgive them. Jeroboam was so, he was a scholar. He was, oh my gosh, this guy's great. He was an Ephraimite. He was extremely, he had interfacing with Solomon. He became the first king of the northern kingdom. And he within, I think it was 7 years, 12 years, something really incredible. He totally apostatized the northern Italy, and part of it was just pride. One of the greatest downfalls of leadership, pride. He when the kingdom got split, and it did, he didn't want his people, now let's just get this piece of history straight, going down to Jerusalem for the 3 pilgrimages. They were obligated by the laws of Moses, according to the festivals, 3 festivals, the whole nation, now both northern and southern, were supposed to go down to Jerusalem for 3 of the feasts. He didn't want his people going down there because, how can you really have a divided nation? If it's like being an American and I'm always going up to Canada to celebrate my national holidays. Well, that just doesn't work politically. It's just not really, it's very messy. He sealed the borders. I mean, literally, it became dangerous. This is why it became very dangerous to try to go down to the feast. I mean, this stuff, we just don't think about this stuff. It's crazy. But anyways, the way he totally ironclad that nation and made these golden calves and changed a lot, but he didn't do it. This is when he raised it. He wasn't preaching. The Baal worship came later as they became more apostates, but he just sort of took the laws and he just sort of changed it. He just sort of made it palpable to them and kind of appeased them and say, well, because they were really sick of going down for the feast. They were really mad at the southern kingdom anyways for taking all their taxes and their money and their best people and just using it to build the temple, all down there. And they weren't really getting to keep much up in their own municipality. So there was a lot of bad blood, and he capitalized on it. Anyways, enough of that. We're never going to get through this. But yet I will show love to the house of Judah. See, he's very clear. And this is because, I'll just tell you, in all these kings that were first mentioned in verse 1, Hezekiah was one of the greatest kings Israel ever saw. Judah had a great king during a time of the northern kingdom's total slide. So they had a whole reprieve of revival and, kind of dipping down. They were dipping down, but Hezekiah brought them right back up. And he was such a great Torah teacher, and so many great things happened in revival in his time that God did not say he was actually in this, he's very kind to Judah. Because at that point, they had not totally apostatized themselves like they would later. I think about 200 later, they go into captivity with the Babylonians. But he said, yet I will show love to the house of Judah, which tells you, right, this is not a prophecy to Judah. This is totally to the northern kingdom. Okay, but this is where you got to find these little verses, and you got to see the depth of him, and it's so true. He says, yet I will show love to the house of Judah, and I will save them. Fast forward right to today, to Judah over there. God is going to save them. How? Not by bow, not by sword, or battle, or by horses, but by the Lord their God. That's absolutely prophetically true. Go to Zechariah, read it for yourself. Now, so we got one son, one daughter. God is going to scatter seed and have no compassion. Then we get into Gomer had another son, and he called him Lo-Ami. Now, God told him, name the kids these. Lo-Ami means you're not my people. Lo-Ami, okay? For you are not my people, and I'm not your God. In other words, it's over. The honeymoon is over, okay? And this is where the rubber really starts to meet the road. Finally, he says, you are not my people, and you have to keep in mind, listen to me when I hit that word, my people, all right? Because it's going to get very important. So in other words, Joseph's seed, and which is Israel, they will be called. No, I'm not quite there yet. All right, so Lo-Ami. Then let me give you a piece. Nope, let's try to stay focused here. Let's go into verse 10. Yet the Israelites, and this is what is so important. In the context, we know when you see the word Israelite, we're talking about the house of Israel in the northern kingdom, and the word really should be translated, these sons, these descendants, these zera, these seed, of Israel. See, that's such an important concept. They're getting away. We're getting away. The genetics of this thing is very important because God used this. It says Ephraim he used to push the peoples to the ends of the earth. That's why it's a very important concept. Anyways, the Israelites will be like the sand on the seashore which cannot be measured or counted. Now, where did you hear that before? That's the whole promise he started off with Abraham. He gave it to Isaac and he gave it to Jacob, that their descendants would be like the sand of the sea and the stars of the sky. Now, you have to remember this and understand, because this is the most important thing to understanding. And you know the transliteration of Israel, because when you see Israel, when you get past Moses and the time of the judges and you get up to the divided kingdom, when you see Israel, if it is not paired up in a verse with Jacob, it's talking about the house of Israel, or the northern kingdom, or the dispersed seed. That's the right dividing of the word. Unless you can prove from the context by a few other clues, that's what it's talking about. And that people, all right, I'm going to get there. Hopefully, so much information. Anyways, in Genesis 32:28, and this is so important to understand, that when God gave the birthrights, when Jacob was blessing his 12 sons, God divided the birthright, which is the spiritual, which is really God's plan of salvation to the nations, really, between Judah and between Joseph and between his two sons, Ephraim and Manasseh. You know, actually, there were 13 tribes. There's always been 13 tribes. It's the way this funny, and there were 13 colonies in America. I mean, there's so many parallels to this thing, but the 13th tribe, the Levites, never had a land inheritance. So that's why it really 12 tribes, when you divide up the land, you just have to know your details because they're very important. But Jacob, God changed his name to Israel. He took his name that God gave him. He gave it to Jacob. He didn't give it to Isaac. He didn't give it to Abraham. He changed Abram's name to Abraham. I don't think he ever changed Isaac's name. He gets Jacob. He changed Jacob's name to Israel. Jacob takes that name, which is loaded and it's full of prophetic significance and has promises attached to it, and he puts it on the two sons of Joseph, the next generation, his grandchildren. He puts the name of Israel on them. This is so important. He didn't put on Judah. Judah has always been Judah. Israel is the sons of Ephraim and Manasseh, and it became to him as the 10 tribes, the northern kingdom, that seed that got scattered. That is Israel. I know people don't want to believe, but this is biblical truth. Okay? So the house of Israel. All right? See, God doesn't. All right, so let's just keep finding, because this is so important to understand. So that promise, in the place where it was said to them, you are not my people, because he divorced them. Now you go through the rest of this thing. He told them, he divorced them, he expelled them from the land, but you get into these beautiful prophecies in Hosea in chapter 2, starting in verse 14, where he woos them back, he remarries them. Because we go to this place, starting out in Hosea 1:10 to the rest of this chapter is so loaded with prophetic destiny. You, the Israelites, will be like the sand in the sea, which cannot be measured or counted. You Israelites, you house of Israel, scattered seed. That's what he is saying. In the place where it was said to them, you are not my people. Because he just said to them, and the son Lopan, you are not my people, and I'm not your God. So end of relationship. Fast forward into a prophetic promise. Where they say you are not my people, there they will be called the sons of the living God. If you ever want to find out, and this is what Paul saw, where the church age is, the Gentile Christians loves, that is it in a nutshell. I can't overemphasize this. This is what we are dealing with, this prophetic, for these last 2 days. This is where we've been doing. He's been calling out his sons again and calling them now sons of the living God, renewing a relationship with them. And then it goes on, it says, the people of Judah and the people of Israel, and I think I have an NIV here. I have to keep saying it. It's much more accurate in a New American Standard. It says, which is the sons of Judah and the sons of Israel. You have to keep those words, house and sons, you really, because it carries a prophetic weight to it. The sons of Judah and the sons of Israel will be reunited. Didn't I tell you a house divided can't stand? There is coming, this is the whole point, there's coming a reunification of the whole house of Israel. That is the fallen tabernacle of David. It says, the sons of Judah and the sons of Israel, two separate groups of people, will be reunited, and they will appoint one leader and will come up out of the land, for great will be the day of Jezreel. Now, I get into this, but I'm not even ready to really unpack that last verse. I was looking at that and I was going, the one leader, they will come under Yahushua HaMashiach. He's the leader. The government is on his shoulders. And they will come up out of the land. I'm not quite sure if I could say yet what I think that means or where this, because they were taken to another place. For great will be the day of Jezreel, which, and I told you Jezreel means the scattered seed of of God. Okay? So this seed has been multiplied and scattered. Now you have a place now at the end of it, and you put Isaiah and Jeremiah at the end of time, where we are now at the end of the 2 days, just before the third day. They're living. This is why America, I'm sorry, people. We are living in prophetic times. See, because we're not Babylon. This is why I got to rightly divide your word. Babylon, my husband just taught 2 weeks. He's got, Babylon is over there in the land. Ancient Babylon, okay? Geographically, it never changed. Now, its seed and its ideas really went into all the earth. But when he talks about the king of Babylon, he's talking about, that's over there. We're not Babylon, even though we have a lot of the harlotry of Babylon in us, okay? And it's all going to go bye-bye. But the point is, there are more Jews that live in America today, the house of Judah, and there are more Ephraimites who are now saved and in the church, and everybody out of every nation, tribe, because genetically it says that everybody is going to have some of that seed in them by the time this thing is wrapped up. The way, we populate like rabbits, okay? We're up to, 8 billion people, okay? They will be in one place. But in a certain sense, this is where you put it, they will come from the west. Living in safety, and if you want to, your God can make, America and today, they are living together in a place of safety out of the reach of their historic enemies. This is real. This has been going on. There have been Jews coming to this country. A lot of people, you can unpack this whole thing. Christopher Columbus was really a Jew during the time of when they were kicked all the Jews out of Spain, brought a boatload here. These things are highly plausible. So the two houses have been planted here in another place and dwelling in freedom and in prosperity and in safety for hundreds of years now. To me, these things are happening. Let God's word be true and every man a liar. He will get his promises completed. Now, the last verse 2, because if you just keep reading it and don't put in the chapter headings or the other things, it says, say of your brothers. See, this is where you have to keep following these analogies. Say of your brothers, my people, and say of your sisters, my loved one. If you would go back and reference right in those verses, yet I will show love to the house of Judah. That's the loved one. That she referred to there as a sister. The sister. That's the loved one. And the brothers, the my people. He said, call those people, they're not my people. That's the northern kingdom. So in other words, say to your brothers, Israel, and to your sister, Judah. That's how you interpret that verse. Right there in the whole context of that whole thing. It's very easy, it's very clear. So, because he will appoint, and then you go into 1:11. Yeah, because I did let me make this point. This word he will appoint means he will designate, he will put in place, or he will put together in a sense of unitedness. These two houses again. Now, I don't know where else that's happening on the planet is greatly. They expelled the Jews out of Europe. They've expelled the Jews out of every country on the planet. Do you know that we are the only nation since the time of Moses that has corporately instituted itself as this one nation under God? You find me another one. It's not there in the historical annals, okay? The Ephraimites, the true remnant, okay, because I'm even studying, doesn't matter. These people were so steeped in their in their understanding, they knew, when they said knew they were a city on a hill, the New Jerusalem, another place, they were coming, they got it to huge buckets of revelation to these people. Now the tears came with them, and there's been a whole history, but we have to reclaim, I believe this is the land that Yahweh gave us, in my opinion, to be a place during the Great Tribulation out of the dragon's reach. This is so important to recover this understanding, in my opinion. Now, if you can, because I only got now, and let me say one more thing, because we're going to, whatever time I have left, we're going to go through a blitzkrieg, because if you follow this model, who it's written to, and you understand, and you rightly divide it, and if you're in any confusion, get yourself out of concordance, or get a Bible software online. Bible Hub's a great one, or Bible Gateway, whatever they are, free, and look at these words. If you see the word house, the word bet, or the word sons, the word bene, you know that's the correct interpretation. But there's another little, because these are all words, the prophets use it, I can't go there, but there's a lot of parabolic words that are used to describe the same reality. A lot of times you have the vine, you have the fig tree, and you have the olive tree, all through the Old Testament, and it carries on into the New. Jesus cursed the fig tree, and people are trying to figure out what the heck that all about, okay? And this isn't last week, or the last time I was on, I unpacked this whole verse. I had a little issue with the translations, because they took what really should have been very clearly the sons of Joseph and translated it to be a fruitful bough, which is a fruitful vine, which I understand how they can say that, but in my opinion, they should have said it in other places. That's a verse where that prophecy is going, but it's really clear, and people need to understand that we're talking about the descendants. A fruitful vine does not say the same thing as the sons of the house of Israel. Okay, so to me, they shouldn't have chosen that verse to put that parabolic language in, even though they had a right to, because there are definitely places parabolically where, this is what I want to say, the vine, the vineyard, after into the northern kingdom, when you get past the divided kingdom and you get into that part of the timeline, when he's talking about the vineyard, a lot of times it does refer to the house of Israel. The seed of Joseph is the vineyard that God planted. It says it right in Isaiah. I mean, if you want to check me out, go to Isaiah 5:7. That's Isaiah 5:7, and it says clearly, the vineyard of the Lord of hosts, so we're talking about Yahweh, we're not talking about anybody else, is the house of Israel. Clear. I'm talking about the house of Israel, northern kingdom, scattered seed. The fig tree, it says this in Jeremiah 24:1. And there's this whole chapter in 24 about the figs, the good figs and the bad figs. You read the context. The fig tree is the house of Judah. So they use it. So this is, if you don't know this, understand this, you're clueless. But they knew. They were throwing this stuff around. Oh, the fig tree and with bad figs in it, good figs and bad figs. I mean, everybody, the people knew. They knew exactly who he was talking about them. The vine. The olive tree is a little more interesting. And this one, I'm pretty sure that I would say this publicly anyways. It really represents, because you do have, you should remember, not all Israel is Israel. Just because you are, Ephraimite doesn't mean that you're a true believer in the Lord Jesus Christ. Because you really do have, that's a person that you have to choose and believe. But the olive tree, those who do, to me, the elect, those who really have the oil in their lamp, they're the priests. We're kings and priests. The priests of the new covenant, that's the olive tree, in my opinion. So anyways, but let that go for another time. So and this is another little key, let me just tell you, because I did a thing on the feasts. Whoever's tracking this, the last 3 feasts that are just about to be fulfilled, or Jesus will fulfill to the T in his second advent, in the return. It's all about a harvest. There's 2 harvests in the agricultural year of Israel, so you got to understand all this stuff. The first harvest that he did was the grain harvest. When that was with the Omer, and they would wave the sheaf, the grain harvest. The second harvest, the one we're waiting for now, the one we're getting ready to have, this is a harvest of, believe it or not, the fruit of the vine, and the fig trees are harvested. And I mean, I'm not making, it all fits. We're getting ready for a harvest. The 2 houses, the fig tree and the olive tree are getting ready for harvest in the fall feast. Anyways, let's just, with whatever time I left, let me go through these and just give you a couple of these. You should read Hosea closely. And I'll give you when it talks, because a lot of these prophecies, this has been the history of the north, and this has the church age in it. When we get to verse 14, it's right there. But you have to, the house of Joseph, the Ephraimites, or the house of Ephraim, these are all words, the house of Israel, the Israelites, these are all words that talk about the northern kingdom. So if we did chapter 1, we're on to chapter 2, and if you just look here, and he goes through this whole thing about the unfaithful wife who was in adultery, which I'm telling you is really the word harlotry and whoredom, which is a much higher level of, it goes here into verse 14, it says, therefore, he switches, he said, now I'm going to allure her. I will lead her into the desert, and remember the code word for, and speak tenderly to her in the wilderness. That's where they went. The wilderness, the big bad world of the pagans and the Gentiles, that was always called the wilderness and the desert, okay? And Damascus, like I said, the largest group of deport went to Damascus, and that just sort of became a code word for this whole desert wilderness experience now. There I will give her back her vineyards, and will make the valley of Achor a door of hope. There she will sing as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt. In other words, in that day, declares the Lord, you will no longer call me husband, but you will call me husband. You will no longer call me my master. I will remove the names of the Baals from your lips. No longer will their names be invoked. In that day, I will make a covenant for them. And it goes on here, I will betroth you to me forever. And this is all the new birth now. This is all the covenant now that has been opened up to whosoever, but Jesus had to come for the lost sheep. He started with his own, and then he went out and got everybody else. I will betroth you in righteousness and justice, in love and in compassion. Will betroth you in faithfulness, and you will acknowledge the Lord. In that day I will respond. And now he goes on, he ends this chapter. Let me just say, the earth will respond to the grain, the new wine and oil, and they will respond to Jezreel. I mean, that's so, I wish I had time to unlock that parabolically, okay? The word Jezreel paired with oil, with grain, with new wine. But on verse 23 it says, I will plant her for myself in the land. I will show my love to the one I called not my loved. Now, who did he say that to? I will say to those called not my people. Here again, you have the reunification of the whole house of Israel right here. And they will say, you are my God. Because if you follow through, just track with how the prophets are using their words. He said, I will show my love to the one I called not my loved. And who was, that's the northern kingdom. That's the house. Oh, wait a minute. No. Sorry, even I get confused at this. You really got to track this stuff. He says, I will show my love to the one I called not my love. That was lo ami. That's the northern kingdom. That was the daughter. I see, you have to go back to that. You really got to. That was the daughter. Lo ami was the third son, not my people. And not my loved one was the daughter, Lo Rumaha, if I'm saying that correctly, okay? And they will say, you are my God. This is the whole church age right here. Now, if you keep going with this thing, because it all goes into, he never really, if he mentions House of Judah, you will get the context immediately, but he's always talking to, so he says, the Lord said, go show yourself to your wife again. Though she is loved by another and is an adulteress, love her as the Lord loves the Israelites, though they turn to other gods and love the sacred racing kegs. And he's told to buy her back. Then I told her, you are to live many days. You must not be a prostitute or be intimate with any man, and I will get. See, this is very parabolic. Okay, we're getting, but let me just end up in this, and I'm going to pick this up again, but let me give you verse 4 of chapter 3. For the Israelites, the sons of Israel, will live without many days. These are the house of Israel, without king or prince, without sacrifice, sacred stones, without ephod. And it says, afterwards the Israelites were to return and seek the Lord their God and David their king. They will come trembling to the Lord and to his blessing in the last days. So that's where we are. So these revelations are going to come fast like a freight train. So I just say, get ready, get oil in your lamp. I hear the train a coming. So bless you. Shalom in the name of Yahushua.